Previously on the Rod Pedersen Show.
You've been through so much, like for instance, the 2016 Grey Cup. How hurt were you? Because I'm sitting there watching the game, getting ready to watch it all on TSN, like, Henry's got a knee injury, right? And we're like, oh, my God. How bad was it that day?
Oh, it was bad, honestly. It was bad. Even leading up that week, I was constantly getting treatment on my knee, and I just knew something wasn't right. But it was unfortunate that in the game, on the best surface possible, playing on grass, which players always welcome, that's when everything just kind of went awry during the pregame warmups, and I felt a pop in my knee. And we all know, for those who've experienced just a slight cartilage tear, when it happens, you know right away. And I'm thankful for the doctors and the staff with the Ottawa Red Blacks at the time and the Ottawa nurses from the city of Ottawa who came together and were able to come up with some concoction and inject it into my knee and give me some painkillers. But regardless of Alex Singleton and Micah Johnson and those guys hitting me left and right during that game, I couldn't feel it. So I could, I would look them in the eye when they would say, "Hey, boom!" I know that had to hurt. I'd say, "Guys, I can't even feel it right now." But it felt good. It kind of put the icing on the cake for me to be able to go there and do what I needed to do, just to finish my career off in the right way. But trust me, my knee was all jacked up, and that's the reason why, for me, if we had to play another period in overtime, it would have been tough for me to survive that, because by the end of that game, my knee was completely locked out due to the amount of swelling that was in my left knee.
Get ready for the Rod Pedersen Show.
I was born to broadcast. So the World Juniors, 2012, I'm calling the national radio feed. I was sitting there in the press box of the Saddle Dome like this, playing Pac-Man on my phone. Ray Ferraro, he's like, "Are you kidding me?" And I'm like, "What are you doing?" "I'm playing Pac-Man on my phone." "I just died." And he goes, "Don't you have game prep to get ready for the game or something?" "No, I know the numbers. I know everything about them. Let's get the game going."
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Yes, it is. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the RP Show. It's a football Friday. It's okay from time to time to just throw the rules out the window. We don't have moose, and we're just going to get right after it. Here's how and why. Let's bring in our first guest right now, the Sports Doctor Dave Petrishen. Coming up, the CFL on TSN's Jim Barker. Matt Dubach, the most famous high school football coach in Florida, CFL alum, and Giulio Carravata, the color voice of the BC Lions, Giulio Carravata. Those are all the guests. I'm throwing out the window the quick six show topics. Can we bring in the Sports Doctor? He's never looked better. He's never looked better. And you know why, Dave? You finally got the shirt on. It's game day, baby. How you feeling, David?
I'm feeling good. I might be a little hoarse today, calling some wrestling action yesterday, but feeling good. Feeling good as a Blue Bomber fan going into tonight's game.
Okay, look good, feel good. Director Jordan, can you hit the quick six show horn, please? And we'll fire it up.
Yes.
And we'll get going. Literally, listen, Wally Buono dropped a stink bomb while speaking in Calgary on the weekend here yesterday, or getting ready to speak. It's Wally weekend in Calgary, about saying that if he was the commissioner for a day, the first thing he'd do in the CFL is expand to the USA. I'll get around to that with you, David, and it'll be a topic with all of our guests today. But it's a Friday night football doubleheader in the Canadian Football League. And the first game is Edmonton at Ottawa. You and I'll get to that. But in Sask, the Blue Bombers are at the Rough Riders. Your team against my team, the team I was the broadcaster for 20 years. It's a biggie. What's going to happen tonight, David, at Mosaic Stadium?
Well, of course, as a guy who always wears the blue goggles, and I know that you wear the green goggles, you have to realize that the last 8 times the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and Saskatchewan Roughriders have met, 7 of those have been Blue Bomber victories. So I think we know what's going to happen in this one. Unfortunately, you see on your side, you saw the drubbing at the hands of the BC Lions last week, where we saw a masterful performance by Zach Collaros handling the Calgary Stampeders. So I truly believe, with some of the injuries that have happened in Saskatchewan, especially Jamarcus Hardrick, that we're going to see a Blue Bomber victory tonight, as per usual at Mosaic Stadium.
You're still in your pro wrestling mode last night, which I want to say something before. What? Yeah, go ahead. People are writing in about that. Talk about what you did.
We had a great time. The Wrestling United is an up-and-coming promotion based in Manitoba. Our main event featured a gentleman by the name of Frankie Kazarian, who viewers can watch on the Fight Network every Thursday night on TNA. And Frankie is on his way now to Montreal, where he'll challenge for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship in a six-way match. But he was our main event last night against Michael Allen Richard Clark in Winnipeg, and Frankie Kazarian came out on top. And I called the game. I called the matches with the hustler, Andrew Pedersen.
Nice. Listen, so I'm glad you had fun. People that are watching here right now were at the event. They said you did a great job. I just want to say this. It's going to be fun today. I'm going to try and keep a lid on myself. Again, the poll question today is, should the CFL expand to the USA? People are going to say, why are you saying that? Because Wally said it yesterday, the all-time wins leader, the man that should not be questioned. But, of course, he's being questioned because that's the way things roll. Bomber Boy, who's in Calgary, he writes in and he says, there's no appetite for the CFL in the USA when they already have the XFL. Listen, last night I was on a Panthers podcast, Dave, a Florida Panthers podcast called Cats and Rats. They said, Rod, there's no other football going on right now. We're getting into watching the CFL. It's on the CBS Sports Network. This was Cody in Fort Lauderdale, okay? Because we're watching on CBS Sports Network, and when it's not on there, we're watching the streaming. So tell us more about the CFL. And I'm like, how much time you got, bro? How are you, Bomber Boy in Calgary, going to tell anybody what the appetite is in the USA for football? You don't even live there.
It's the
you have a thought
been
on
there, done that. Been there, done that. We've tried that before. Of course, there's appetite for football right now. But what happens the moment official training camps start, official preseason goes, and September rolls around, and the National Football League is on Monday Night Football, Thursday Night Football. Sometimes there's Saturday, Sundays. Like, there's just... We've tried that before. You had some nice little crowds in Birmingham, nice little crowds in Las Vegas, San Antonio, Sacramento. But then September hits.
I get so sucked into this. Like, as soon as I saw it, what Wally had said, my stomach turned, my heart sank. I'm like, here we go again. And
were you
so
with
many
the
people
Saskatchewan Rough Riders? Yeah. I was going to ask you, were you with the Saskatchewan Rough Riders in '94?
I just missed it. I just missed it. I was covering the league, but I wasn't the voice of the team. Yeah. But so many people are such a... Yeah. Where?
I took it in the game in Vegas when the Blue Bombers played the Vegas Posse. And
I'm sure it was horrible.
2,200 people in the crowd. Maybe 1,800 were from Manitoba on the weekend from Vegas. So it just didn't work. And it didn't work. And
it wasn't done.
We have a great game. We have a very proud game. We have a great team, but it doesn't hold up in the United States because they have college, they have high school, they got the NFL. You can watch football all the time. There's an NFL Network 24/7. You can watch reruns of games all the time. So we got a great game. We got to be proud of it. Let's be proud. Let's be proud Canadians and keep that game going, rolling.
And
here,
let's stay in Canada and. Let's stay in Canada and screw expansion. Yeah, woo! Because I'm sitting there going, I don't know, USA has the money, USA has the people, USA has the love for football. But you know what? Whatever. So many people just want to be a wet blanket and piss all over everything and be negative. So do it. I'll expand to America myself, i.e. my work with USA Football, Sober Bowl and Super Bowl, the Cats and Ball. I'll do it myself. Let's move on. Riders, Bombers tonight. Here's your point spreads. Winnipeg favored by 4 at Sask tonight. Argos favored by 3.5 at Hamilton on Saturday. I forgot Edmonton at Ottawa tonight. The Red Blacks are favored by 1. And in the Wally Bowl, BC favored by 4.5 at Calgary on Sunday, where they're honoring Wally Buono at halftime. The guy that started this whole furor with his comment yesterday. But back to tonight's game. Bombers favored by 4 at Sask. They've won 7 of the last 8. This is why I was asking you before we went on the air. You stopped coming to the Labor Day Classic, let's be honest, because you guys were getting your ass whipped so much. You weren't having fun, right? Now the belt's been shifted, and now let me finish. Now the Bombers have the belt, and they're the big brother. So now you want to come back, which is fine. But do you think if it was Trevor Harris versus Zach Collaros, we're not looking at a 4-point line? Deal or no deal?
I believe you are correct. I believe that the line would be still favoring the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, but maybe not 4 points. We've handled Trevor Harris before. But you said something very interesting. We always got our butts handed to us in Saskatchewan, years and years and years of mystery. And I think it was 55-0 would have been the last time at the old Mosaic Stadium and it was terrible. When the stadium opened on Canada Day, when the new Mosaic Stadium opened there, it opened with the Blue Bomber win. And almost ever since then, we've been coming back. And we love the people of Saskatchewan. We just didn't love the football game. Like it was just so embarrassing. Yep. And we literally, when you're trying to figure out a way to turn your jersey inside out or take it off and maybe go shirtless on the way out, but you kind of fit in if you do that anyway. But it's been so competitive. We're not going to talk about just victories. Like if the Bombers lost every single time by a field goal or every single time it was a competitive game, maybe went to overtime, it'd be great. But we just got our butts handed to us so many times in the early 2000s, and then it's been competitive. And Saskatchewan has to be proud of having a competitive team this year. But unfortunately, I think they're going to get steamrolled today by the Big Blue.
I just want to talk about the other games while I have you. And before I do that, we are announcing today the second annual Labor Day Classic Golf Tournament, Rough Riders alumni versus Blue Bombers alumni. And fans, we're inviting alumni of both teams plus fans. We're announcing it today. We're going to have a draft on the Friday night at Aspen Links Golf Club, the clubhouse and rec room. I'll be the commissioner of it, David. I'm hosting this thing. And then the golf Saturday, August 31st, 11 a.m., shotgun start. 11 a.m. sign up, 12 p.m. shotgun start. 5 p.m. Once that's all over, we get rolling with the prize giveaways, trophy presentation, supper at Aspen Links, after party at Ballers Rec Room where you stood us up for our Grey Cup party. It was the greatest Grey Cup party. You missed it, Dave. The keynotes, the Labor Day Classic is an interactive golf tournament supporting the community, Rough Riders alumni, Bombers alumni, as well as Regina Minor football. Hosted and emceed by Rod Pedersen of the RP Show. This soon-to-be-sold-out event will play host to 36 teams, 18 of which will be selected to represent the blue and 18 to represent the green and white. And we're going to have a draft of the alumni the night before. Doesn't that sound like fun? Are you coming this year, David, or not?
I am absolutely coming. Unfortunately, I'm going to roll in with the crew, the 1930 crew. We put together a bus tour. We're going to have about 3 or 4 buses coming down with fans. I'm going to be on I'm going to be with the crew. And so we won't be arriving till a little bit late. But that's interesting because Ballers Rec Room was on my agenda, so I was going to end up there Saturday night anyway. So we'll have to see.
We've been around this thing, literally, David, you and I, and these fans that are watching for decades, right? And it was up, then it was down, then it was up, then it's down, and it's coming back up again with the events and the packed stadiums and the games that mean a lot. And listen, don't say that it didn't go away. It did. Because you and I were meeting over at Perkins for a pancake breakfast the morning of the game because there was nothing else going on. Me and all your Bomber fans, we'll take your money over here. But now it's coming back with events, and it's just interesting to see how it all goes. I am staying out of the comments here, David. Edmonton and Ottawa. I can't believe that there has not been an in-season coach firing, if I'm right, since 2017 in the CFL. No coach has been fired midseason. That's what I read. The last one was Ken Austin in Hamilton, replaced by June Jones after an 0-8 start. So, the Elks did it with Chris Jones. They're still not favored in Ottawa tonight. Red Blacks favored by 1. What do you think is going to happen at TD Place?
Well, you get that punch when you get a new coach, and everybody, you get the shot of adrenaline. People would say, well, the Edmonton Elks, they're a good football team, but they just can't find a way to win. I don't really agree with that, but I do think that there's probably teams. You've been around Chris Jones before. He's a very, very tough football coach, and he does things his way, 100%. So who knows? Maybe there's some levity now in the locker room with the Edmonton Elks, and I do think when you make a change, like the Edmonton organization did, I think you're going to see a victory tonight and snap the winless streak.
I got Edmonton to win. You've got the Bombers to win. Darren's got the Bombers to win. I've got the Riders to win. I just literally because I'm going against the grain. Nobody else is picking them. Toronto at Hamilton. I didn't have time to read the game notes, man. I was on a conference call this morning figuring out this golf event, so I don't know the stats. Other than to say Toronto's favored by 3.5 at Hamilton. What do you think's going to go on at the Hammer, in the coffee cup, in the donut box?
Toronto is a good football team. They're well coached. A solid organization, and Hamilton is just struggling. They've been a struggling team for the last few years. I think Toronto will prevail in this one.
And I've got Hamilton because I love Bo Levi.
Yeah.
And I always cheer for him. And BC at Calgary in the Wally Bowl. Lions favored by 4.5. I have officially stopped picking Calgary because I guess they just don't try in the summer. Pick them in October, but don't pick them now. What do you think's going to happen, BC at Calgary? Lions favored by 4.5.
Well, one would hope if celebrating Wally Buono, one of the most esteemed players, coaches, general managers in the entire league, that if they get a packed house, they get 30,000 plus, I think that'll propel the Calgary Stampeders to a victory.
So that's a lot of ifs, Dave. So you're picking Calgary?
I'm picking Calgary. It's going to be an emotional day, and I think it's that thing. It becomes the homecoming game, so to speak. I think Calgary. I'm going with Calgary.
You're giving me too much. I had BC, but now you're convincing me otherwise. Dave, you got to get out of here, man. You got to be changing all my mind on everything. You look great in the shirt. Bomber colors, that special issue from our friends Whole Life Florida clothing brand. They do all the shirts for us. David, thanks, man. Enjoy the game tonight. I always enjoy seeing you, brother. My best to Karen.
Thanks, Rod.
The Sports Doctor out of Winnipeg, Dave Petrishen. Give him a follow on Twitter at The Sports Doctor. By the way, Noni in Calgary's watching. She writes in on the text line 902-518-3033. She says, Rod, I love your comment from yesterday that if you're offended, you're the one with the problem. I couldn't agree more with that. Keep being you. And she says, hi to Henry Burris. I think now it's a fun joke to think we Rider fans have a hate for Henry anymore. He was a successful quarterback, and we shouldn't dispute that. Have a great day. That's from Noni in Calgary. It's a football Friday. We've thrown all the rules out the window. It's all football. That's what we're doing today, and it feels good. We'll be right back here on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit. As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HG.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope.
Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
The 80s Club, live in Moose Jaw. Honeymoon Suite, along with a flock of seagulls. Men without hats. And spoons. All together for one night at Moose Jaw Event Center, Saturday, November 16th. Tickets on sale now at sastix.ca or the Moose Jaw Event Center box office.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Hey, honey, can you get one of the kids to show me how this Twitter thing works? Honey, I need to get on Instagram. Time for more of the Rod Pedersen Show.
I'm going to be honest, I'm so excited I can barely contain myself. I'm not joking. Today's the day in Landmark Cinemas, debuting today, Twisters. This summer, the epic studio disaster movie returns with an adrenaline-pumping, seat-gripping, big-screen thrill ride that puts you in direct contact with one of nature's most wondrous and destructive forces. From the producers of the Jurassic and Indiana Jones series comes Twisters, a current-day chapter of the 1996 blockbuster Twister in Landmark Cinemas beginning tonight. And while you're at it, sign up for Landmark Extras at landmarkcinemas.com. Okay, can we please bring in Jim Barker and Coach? I don't know really where to start other than Wally really got him talking, if you saw, by saying that the first thing he would do if he was commissioner for the day in the CFL is expand to the U.S. Started a hell of a fight. Didn't expect that to happen. What do you think when you hear that?
You know what? I've heard it so much. When I first came in the league, it was right after the failed experiment. I'm from the U.S. I understand the culture down there. Again, we talked about it a little last week. With the way I think you kind of maybe break in is you take it to, a city like Detroit, where you got Windsor right there, and you share the franchise, and you allow them to maybe play some games in the U.S., although the workman's comp and a lot of the issues that go on when you do that might be cost restrictive for the CFL. But again, I just think it's, your last guest, he was bang on. Everything's great through the summer, but then as soon as the end of August comes and college football starts playing, those cities that they chose, they're strong college football areas, and in Birmingham down there, and Birmingham was drawing well. And I watched the Riders. I had been a guest coach with the Riders in '94, and was down living in Vegas, and went to that game, and it was a game in, I believe it was July, maybe early August, and all I remember was 120 degrees, and you couldn't even sit. It was at 8:00 at night, and hotter than heck. And it was like, wow, how can these guys play in this? I don't see it as a long-term answer. But again, Wally's been in this a long time, and he's certainly entitled to what he thinks is the best move. I do like expanding the CFL and getting to 10 teams at least. I think that would be a great move. But in terms of, are we going to sell teams to the South? Again, we're a different game. And if we can sell the 3-down concept, I don't think we're in competition with the USFL and those teams. So,
No.
I don't see where it's a thing that's viable, at least in my lifetime.
Yeah, maybe you missed off the top of the show. It's timely because I was on a Florida hockey show last night, and the guy said to me, "Hey, Rob, there's no other football going on down here. We're watching this CFL on CBS Sports Network. Kind of like it. What's it all about?" And I'm like, "Boys, we don't have time." But then the Wally thing comes out. I'm like, interesting. Interesting. There is a void there right now anyways. But anyways, moving on. We have not spent enough time on this Edmonton-Ottawa matchup, which is totally fine. Our two biggest regions for viewership are Winnipeg and Sask. But you're out there in the East. How much does the firing of Chris Jones affect tonight's game, do you think, from an Edmonton perspective at Ottawa?
I think most of the time, this is the first time, one thing I want to say, this is the first time in Chris Jones' career, and he's been in since 2002. We were together in Montreal. The first time he's ever been fired. He's always been a step ahead of the posse, and, good on him for that. So I think this hit him hard. I don't see where this gives them a big boost. I think it actually hurts them. They're on a short week. They're going to have to make changes because now Jarius comes down to the sidelines. He now takes on a different role in terms of managing the game. And is he going to be the play caller? Is he going to turn that over to Marcus Howell? I think there's just a lot of things that change. Now, they have an experienced quarterback in McLeod Bethel-Thompson who can maybe take on some play calling and things. But I don't think this move gives them the kind of bump a normal, you talked about the last firing when they fired Kent Austin and June Jones became the head coach. There was a notable, it was almost like Kent had been there and lived his time had come, and there was almost in the locker room, you just sensed from the outside, and I wasn't there, but you sensed from the outside there was like a jubilation. I never got that feeling from anybody in Edmonton. I don't think Jones had lost the locker room. I don't think players there hated him. Do I think he did a lot of things wrong, being the GM? And I do. We've talked about a lot of them on this show, in that it's hard to be the guy trying to get him to play, hard for the guy next to him, and hard for the organization when you got 5 guys lined up in the waiting room ready to come out and take their jobs. And that's kind of Chris's view on the game, on personnel in the game is always, I can find a better player. And that's tough to sell your team when you're a coach on, any kind of loyalty to the club. I think that was a problem for him. But I don't think there was a huge jubilation over him getting fired. I just don't. I don't feel the same kind of thing as like what happened with Kent Austin. So I don't see it being a huge factor. I think it's actually going to be a hindrance for them. I think it's going to bring them back a step. I think Ottawa last week, the emergence of Khalil Pimpleton is huge for that club because he went in, Braylon Addison had a sore hamstring or something, but it's almost like a Lou Gehrig thing. It's like, he goes out and Khalil Pimpleton comes in and he gives them something they don't have. He gives them that dynamic play. They have Devontae Dedmon for special teams, but he's never been an offensive threat. Pimpleton is a true offensive threat. I mean, he's one of the better wide receiver, the little wide receiver returner guys I've seen in this league in a long time. I would put him, he hasn't done the stuff Lucky Whitehead has done, but he's that type of a player who can really bring some dynamics to that Ottawa organization that needs it badly. They're getting a couple guys back in their secondary. I think this is originally I thought Edmonton would at least win one of these 2 games, but when they lost the game the other night, I just don't feel the firing of Chris Jones is going to be enough to get them over the top. And I think the changes that have to be made now in terms of management, game management, offensive management, it's a lot to overcome.
From the viewers, Nelson in Regina says, new coach energy, Elks get the W. From Bomber Boy says, yep, new coach bump. Drew Brown won't throw for almost 500 yards again. We'll see. That's why we'll all be tuned in. It's fun. Toronto and Hamilton. Always a sexy matchup. The Argos are favored by 3.5. I'm taking the Ticats just because nobody else is. What's your read on that game at Tim Hortons Field?
You know, it's just so hard for me ever since I've been in this league. The Hamilton Tiger Cats have been a defensive juggernaut. I mean, Don Southern, they're just a nasty defensive team. And they were bad on offense a lot. But it hasn't been since Danny McManus they've played decent offense. Well, they're playing decent offense now. I think Bo Levi's, the guy's thrown 11 touchdown passes. He's certainly not the reason things aren't going well there. Their receiving core is below average, and their defense has just been. And it's hard for me to fathom that. It really is. And I know Orlando Steinauer. I mean, he was I felt one of the best defensive coordinators I'd ever been. I watched him develop into it and made him one back in his third year in the league. He was that bright, and it's shocking to me that they're playing the way they are. With that being said, from a physical standpoint, I just don't know that their defensive front has a chance to keep up with what Toronto's offensive line can do. And Kadeem Carey is carrying this team through their whole change of quarterback, kind of like what Saskatchewan needs Shea Patterson to do with A.J. Ouellette. So having a great running back along with an offensive line that's extremely physical, and that's the difference between Saskatchewan and Toronto, where losing Hardrick hurts their physical nature. I mean, I think that Winnipeg came back to being the bullies last week. They really did play physical in Calgary, and Calgary played physical too. Don't get me wrong. I thought Calgary played great and deserved better fate, but that's been their story, very similar to Edmonton. I mean, the whole Alberta province is like, man, they're playing good. They deserve to have more wins than both teams have. So it's just a really interesting week in the CFL. I mean, all the games have an intrigue to them that are, like you said, in that Hamilton-Toronto game. Hamilton's coming off a bye. It's just, we're getting into this is week 6, and we still got 2 teams that haven't won a game. That's unheard of.
It is literally unheard of. And by the way, I've got so many fans write me across the country, and they say they can't wait for Fridays. They love Football Fridays on this show. And another thing in the game notes was that last week's average points per game, 65 points per game, was the highest in the league since 2017. So there's some very exciting things going on in the CFL, but I got to ask you about the Wally Bowl Sunday. They're going to honor Wally, Lions and Stampeders. Dave Petrishen thinks that's going to emotionally boost up the Stamps. Well, maybe they'll do the same for BC. Lions favored by 4.5. What's your read on that game?
Well, when it comes down to that game, you have Jake Mayer and you have VA, Vernon Adams, and Vernon Adams is on a different playing level than everybody else in the league right now. And I sure wouldn't want to bet against him. I just think that the things he's doing are remarkable. And he's this McInnes, and I don't know how bad his injury was, but that game he had over 235 yards. And, he's come on and become that guy that VA always knows I can go to. And he's going to get open. Then they have the big play guys. I mean, Hollins is still dropping too many balls. And I mean, VA would have had over 500 yards if Hollins just catches the ball. It was right there for a 55-yard touchdown. He'd have thrown for 520 yards. I mean, it's asinine what he's doing. And I just think that it's too much for Calgary. Calgary's going to have to hold on to the ball. I love what they're doing on offense in terms of trying to keep Jake Mayer upright. And they had a young kid, Eric Smith, step in at left tackle. I thought he played outstanding. So Calgary keeps bringing these offensive linemen in. Pat Delmonico, great offensive line coach, keeps turning them into really good players. So it's going to be an interesting game. And I'd love to see Calgary at home draw a huge crowd and then play well enough that crowd wants to come back and cheer this team. But
he's a freak right now. They had a good crowd the last home game, so I hope there's a lot there on Sunday at McMahon. But we got a couple minutes. I got to ask you this. Just Riders, Bombers, I never did ask you. It's a, 4-point Bomber line. I know you guys, football guys, don't care about that, but I follow it. And Shea Pedersen is the starter. Is that why you think Bombers are favored, that it's Zach versus a backup, or what's your read on the game?
There's no doubt. There's no doubt that's the reason. And, I think that Saskatchewan, a big part of Shea Pedersen being able to be successful is their offensive line has got to be solid. And again, Trevor Reed is playing solid at left tackle, but he's not a physical, type of, that's not his game. His game is he's more of a finesse guy. Hardrick was the guy who was bringing that nasty AJ Ouellette attitude. And that loss is way bigger than anybody can know. It's, that they're going to have a rookie starting in there this week. And I just think that's going to be a lot to overcome for them. Their receiving core is making plays when they need to. Shea Pedersen is playing with some. He just reminds me so much of Cameron Dukes in Toronto. They're very similar in terms of they can both run. They're both neither great passers, but they're okay passers, and they don't make mistakes. And that's what Saskatchewan has to do. They have to not make mistakes in this game, because I do believe Winnipeg, they gave the ball to Oliveira last week again, and he answered the call, and they are becoming the bullies again. That's what their whole mantra is. We've got to get back to being what we are, which is we're going to beat you up. And they need to, because the Ontario Wilson finally stepped up as that, that Lawler receiver they lost. And he could turn into a real good player. The other guy, Josh Johnson, hasn't had his game yet. He's more of a bigger, 6'2" route runner, where Ontario Wilson is a speedster. So I think that helps them. That will help to keep things spread apart to allow Oliveira to continue to roll. Saskatchewan's defense, I can't say enough about what Corey Mace's done there. I think their linebacking core is as good as anybody in the league. The CJ Rivas is playing outstanding. I'm not huge on Lacombo at free safety, but he's getting better every week. He's a corner trying to convert into playing free safety, and it's just a much more physical position. And I think that's part of what he's got to become, a more physical player to be what they need there. But their secondary, with Milligan and Williams, and they're just, and I think Marcus Sales is starting to fit in there. And then their defensive front, Micah Johnson just seems like he's playing at a really high level, and between he and Lanier, and they get Malik Carney back this week and Miles Brown back this week. That's a formidable front. It really is. The question is, can their offense keep the ball away from them long enough so that they can control the game physically? This is the Winnipeg Saskatchewan matchup should be an absolute physical, in your face, like we call a slobber knocker, where there's spit flying everywhere because guys are hitting, and that's what it should be this week. And with a huge crowd expected in Saskatchewan, it very well could be. It's one of the games I'm really looking forward to this week, because I just think this can be for Saskatchewan to win this one at home could really be I think a monumental win in their season and their race to get to where Corey wants them to, and where that fan base expects them to be.
Yeah. It was the runaway favorite. We have a poll. What's Canada's game of the week? 75% of respondents said that this one, Bombers, Riders. But on that D, I'm with you, but they got exposed a bit last week in BC. As you know, sometimes it's just a blip, so we'll see who they are. But they got a big test tonight. Jim, we'll be watching. Thanks for the time, man. Always great.
Very good. Thanks, Rod.
The CFL on TSN's Jim Barker. We'll be back with a sports update, viewer takeover. Matt Dubuck in hour 2, CFL analyst. Giulio Carravata, BC Lions great, and now radio broadcaster. A lot to get to here on a Football Friday, live on the Game Plus Television Network, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the city of Esteban and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new Halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at IKSGameDay.com.
Now the race is on and here comes pride in the backstretch.
Celebrate 40 years of Sawyer Brown.
Some girls don't like boys like me.
With Shenandoah.
You got to get me to the church on the Cumberland Road.
Plus special guest George Fox. Saturday, October 26th, Moose Jaw Event Center.
I'll take the dirt road.
Tickets are on sale now at the Moose Jaw Event Center box office or online at sasktix.ca.
6 days on the road and I'm
Sawyer Brown and Shenandoah live.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Send us your opinions now. We won't victimize you unless you really deserve it. Now, back to your host, Rod Pedersen.
Believe it or not, this is episode number 1299 of the RP Show. Big plans for show number 1300? I doubt it. It is a football Friday, however, and this is the day to get your football on, particularly the CFL, because that's what's playing right now. Now's a great time for the CFL to put their best foot forward. And you know what? When it comes to football, they always do. Highest scoring week in the CFL, 65 points per game was last week since 2017. Bill Edwards writes in, he says, "Morning crew, great day for a doubleheader. Go Argos." And Riders go. Glenn in Medicine Hat says, "Best line I've heard all week. Edmonton will be playing guilty because they got their coach fired." From John slobber knocker game. Me like he. I'll get to a sports update and then some of my personal comments because after all, it is the Rod Pedersen Show. Some thoughts. Major League Baseball is back after the All-Star break. The Toronto Blue Jays open a 3-game series against the Detroit Tigers tonight at Rogers Center. Jays are 9.5 games outside a wild card spot and sit last in the AL East. after going 5-4 on a 9-game Western road trip. Tigers have won 8 of 10. WCBL Thursday night. Okotoks over my Moose Jaw Millers 4-3. That's the Millers' 4th loss in a row. You got to win, guys. Regina Red Sox beat Medicine Hat 6-4 at Curry. Swift Current over Weyburn 9-4. Brooks over Edmonton 7-3. The Saskatoon Berries won in Sylvan Lake 3-2. It looks like the Berries will make the playoffs in their expansion season. And Lethbridge won 6-5 over Fort McMurray. I believe that was at Spit Stadium. Oh, expansion, WCBL, excitement, growth. Who knew? The sports update brought to you by, the Golden Ticket Sports Center in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. Make your birthday unforgettable at Golden Ticket Sports Center here. Book your birthday party with us for a fun-filled celebration packed with sports, games, and endless excitement. Visit GoldenTicketSportsCenter.com to reserve your spot today. Also, might as well throw in some CEBL stuff. The Saskatchewan Rattlers were dealt another blow to their fading hopes on Thursday, playoff hopes. A 91-87 loss to the Edmonton Stingers at SaskTel Center means the Rattlers now sit at 6-11 and remain a game and a half behind Winnipeg for the final playoff spot. The Scarborough Shooting Stars became the 3rd team in the East to clinch a playoff berth. They won in Ottawa 92-79, and the Vancouver Bandits won their 9th home game of the year. They beat the Winnipeg Sea Bears 103-92. So there you go. Thoughts on all of this? If you tuned in late, I was on a Florida Panthers podcast last night, and the guy Cody I was the guest. It's called the Cats and Rats podcast, and the guy said, "Hey, Rod," Cody in Fort Lauderdale said, "Hey, I'm watching this CFL because there's no other football on right now, and it's kind of cool. It's on CBS Sports Network. Tell me more." I'm like, we don't have time, and we're here to talk Florida NHL hockey, Panthers and Lightning. And then I wake up this morning and see that Wally Buono got tongues wagging. He was speaking last night somewhere and said that if he was the commissioner for the day in the CFL, the first thing he'd do is expand to the U.S. Now, when I say it, everybody gets triggered. When Wally says it, it's, ooh. So that brought up the poll question today. Should the CFL expand to the USA? 69% say no. 22% say yes. 9% are undecided. Jim Mullen, the former president of Football Canada, says, "Name me an American city underserved by the NFL and college, and that can host a team. I'll hang up and listen." He went on to say, Wally also favors blackouts of the television product. I'm not going to go through the rest of it. Just forget it then. Because that's the part of all. This is what I don't understand. And that's why I enjoy Football Fridays one day a week. But I don't want to work in the CFL, Canadian football industry. I don't want to do it at all because I don't think like they do. The salary cap hasn't grown. Nothing's grown. They don't want to grow. Scott in Vancouver wrote in here the other day, "Hey, Rod, can we talk about expansion?" Why? They don't want to. No. I'm not going to waste my time. And that's why they just refuse to see outside this tunnel. I'm a fan. That's as far as it goes. In the Western Canadian Baseball League, we're going to have the All-Star game on Saturday. We've got representatives up from SR Bats in Texas. As soon as this show's over today, I'm jumping in the bus, my vehicle we call it, racing to Okotoks to enjoy the Millers and the Dogs tonight. And the reps from Texas are up from SR Bats. The WCBL said, "Hey, Rod, they really want to meet you." So we're going to be eating shrimp cocktail in the luxury suite at the beautiful Siemens Stadium in Okotoks. I may not even be watching the CFL game because I like expansion. I like growth. I like to make more money. Call me crazy. But they're happy. You think small, you're going to stay small. Is kind of the summation of all of this. And the other, but it's just a mentality. In the game notes, it said 7 of the top 10 receivers in the CFL right now through 6 weeks are Canadian. That is really cool. There's no doubt. Led by Justin McGinnis, the former Rough Rider. But I look at it just oddly. Listen, we got Cole Frank watching in North Dakota, Carlos in Indianapolis. We got Utah Darren. Guys, tell me, if you watch other leagues, 7 of the top 10 scorers in the NHL are Canadian. said no one ever. Somebody was saying the other day about the Panthers breakdown. The fans don't care who's from Russia and who's from Finland and who's from Sweden and who's from USA. And they don't even talk about it. Why is this a thing? Why is it such a thing? But the thing is, I understand it is their thing. It will always be their thing. And I'll wind this up on this, and then I see the comments are going nuts. So we'll get to those. I'm just kind of, it was time to kick the hornet's nest a little bit, and I really mean it. I'm not doing it to just stir things. This is how I honestly feel. But for those that say, well, we tried it once and it didn't work, so why would we try it again? U.S. expansion. The epitome of loser thinking right there. Oh, it didn't work once, let's just quit. The epitome of loser thinking is that. We'll be back with Viewer Takeover. Matt Dubuck in Hour 2. Giulio Carravata as well. It's a Football Friday on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio, and streaming.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
Professional basketball is back in Saskatchewan. The Saskatchewan Rattlers are heating up. Catch them live at SaskTel Center in Saskatoon from May through August. The team is packed with high-caliber talent from the NBA, NCAA, and professional leagues around the world, with a head coach straight from the LA Clippers. Secure your seats now on Ticketmaster, starting at just $20. See you in the Snake Pit.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Did you know you can catch all the best moments from the show on all our social media platforms? Now, back to the studio with Rod.
All right, this is going to be a quickie, Clark tells me. Around 3 minutes, but that's okay. Matt Dubuck, I can't wait to get him in next hour from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, CFL alum. He'll have some thoughts on the games, what we're talking about here. Wally Buono said if he was commissioner for a day in the CFL, the first thing he would do is expand to the USA. And so would I. So it's not just me saying this now. Patrolman Pete in Winnipeg writes in and says, why does it need to grow, Rod? Is it not okay for the league to be as it is? Why is growth crucial? Unless you own a team. Patrolman Pete, I never knew this. What do you do for a living? Because, by the way, it's a mindset. That's fine. That is absolutely fine. And that's why I don't care. I'll grow. As I said earlier with Sports Doctor, I'll expand to the U.S., working with USA Football, Sober Bowl at Super Bowl, Cats and Bolts podcast. It's just a mindset. If you don't want to grow, if you don't want to get better every day, then don't. You know, Steve Simmons said it on that podcast with Bob McCown a couple of weeks back, and John Shannon. The CFL just exists. It's not shrinking. It's not growing. Salary cap hasn't gone up in ages. Meanwhile, we're looking at the NFL just kicking down barriers, kicking down doors, making $13 billion a year, $400 million going to each team, players making more money than ever. And if you think money doesn't buy happiness, you never had it, because it sure as hell helps. Sure as hell helps. So that's it's very clear they don't want to grow and they don't want to expand. Do we need any more evidence of that? So maybe it's probably not a good thing that Wally even brought it up at all. Tony in George Fox country writes in, he says, exactly, Rod. Cody in Fort Lauderdale was watching the CFL because there was no other football on. There's a void. I'm not saying go up against the NFL. It's not what I'm saying. Expanding to the U.S., I think, would help. Don in Ottawa says, Rod, it's because there's a subset of Canadians who crap on the Canadian football in general and the CFL in particular. They are tiresome. This whole debate is tiresome. What the hell was it? Oh, well, just this. I was talking about it this morning in a 12-step meeting. I had to Google it, how to deal with small-minded people. You can say narrow-minded, closed-minded. They're all just, I don't want to look at any other perspective. What you do, you smile, you stay positive, you don't get upset. You shake their hand and realize you're never, ever going to change their way of thinking. So let's be friends. Let's drop it. You win. Bye. For this break. Hey, Jeff the Stamps fan, what reason did Wally give to expand? Because the league's not growing, dude. It's not growing. But I guess we don't need to. We'll talk about the actual games with Matt Dubuck, our CFL analyst in Florida, and Giulio Carravata as well, coming up right after this.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. DDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the city of Esteban and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new Halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at IKSGameDay.com.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
I was born to broadcast. So the World Juniors, 2012, I'm calling the national radio feed. I'm sitting there in the press box of the Saddle Dome like this, playing Pac-Man on my phone. Ray Ferraro, he's like, "Are you kidding me?" And I'm like, "What are you doing?" "I'm playing Pac-Man on my phone." "I just died." And he goes, "Don't you have game prep to get ready for the game or something?" "No, I know the numbers. I know everything about them. Let's get the game going."
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Big football weekend kicking off today. A doubleheader in the Canadian Football League. Edmonton and Ottawa, followed by Saskatchewan home to Winnipeg. I'm seeing Bomber fans on Highway 1 making their way in for the big game tonight. We have launched this today, the second annual Labor Day Classic Golf Tournament featuring Saskatchewan Roughriders alumni against Winnipeg Blue Bombers alumni. It's Labor Day weekend, Saturday, August 31st at Aspen Links Golf Course. Hosted by Rod Pedersen and the Rod Pedersen Show at Aspen Links. Viewer Joel has written in from Esterhazy, Sask. He says, "Awesome." He goes, "Can anyone golf with the alumni?" I said, "Absolutely. That's the whole idea." So we're calling all the alumni to get on board, and then we're going to have a draft the Friday night. I'll be the commissioner of that. And then we'll see. Bombers won it last year. Bombers won it last year. We can't have that happen again. So we're announcing that today. Let's bring in Matt Dubuck. He is dastardly Bomber alum. Matt Dubuck from Cardinal Gibbons High School, 3-time 5A state champion. How you doing, Coach?
Good. Thanks for having me on. What a great show. I've over the summer, I've really gotten a chance to listen, try to listen at night when I go for walks if I can't listen during the day. And it's really good. It keeps me in touch with what's going on, not just in Canada, but other places that, this Western baseball and stuff like that. It's pretty neat.
I really appreciate that, Coach. I really do. And we're heading to Okotoks right after the show today for Saturday's All-Star Game. To the games, you are our CFL analyst, or one of them, obviously, and Matt played for the Argos and the Blue Bombers, played with Flutie in Toronto. Let's just go in order. Edmonton at Ottawa tonight, if you don't mind, because we got viewers in both regions and we don't talk about them enough. And I know you had some thoughts on Chris Jones being let go by the Elks in the first place. So I'm just can you start there with your thoughts on how it will affect tonight's game?
Yeah, I don't see it being a big effect. Here's the deal. I've watched all the games this year, and you mentioned last week something about don't blame the kicker. Well, I'm blaming the kicker. Horace Beatty missed a field goal, and then he kicked.
I said I'd cut him. I didn't say that. I said I'd cut him.
He kicks it out of bounds.
Continue.
Yeah, and did they have 3 guys around the ball, before they kicked the field goal? Sure. But, football and CFL is 3 pivotal parts: offense, defense, and special teams. And special teams is huge compared to 4-down football. So, I don't blame Chris per se, and I don't think he's lost the locker room. I think he needed a little bit more time, but he could have 2 wins right now. And maybe if he gets those 2 wins, he's got a little bit of more momentum, and you never know what can happen. But I did listen to what Jim said, and Jim talked about guys looking over their shoulders, how Chris was always trying to upload the talent, make it better. And I don't necessarily like that way, because in football, you have to have some sort of comfortability. And when you lose that, and guys are scared to make mistakes, and Duron Carter works with me now, and we talked about Chris yesterday, and how that went down. And Duron actually said that. He said we had a really hard time meshing the roster a lot of the times. So I'm not a CFL general manager. I don't claim to be one. I'm a coach. But I do know if I would have been Chris or on his staff, I would have found a way to use the other quarterback in either short yardage or a change of pace, because that guy's fast. Now I just got a brain fart. What's the
Trey Ford.
Canadian? Trey Ford. I've got a kid on my team that played quarterback, a receiver. We're going to put him in the backfield, let him have a run pass option. And, it's just a change of pace that I think with a McLeod Bethel Thompson, he is just what he is. He's a pocket guy. And I go back to a play the other night. They ran a quarterback draw, I think on the 10 or 12 yard line. That's Trey Ford territory, in my opinion. But I'm not the coach. But I would have found ways to put a Canadian kid on the field, maybe get the fans excited a little bit more, to work with McLeod to make them even more potent at each spot. That's my take.
I'm with you on all. It's really interesting. Did you see what Jim Barker said last week? He said the exact same thing. He's like, I don't think Jones lost the room. It's not like Ken Austin, who did back in 2017. It's a different scenario. So I guess, how do you think it affects tonight's game? It's a back-to-backer. They're playing Ottawa for a second straight week on a short week, and he thinks it's going to work against the Elks tonight.
I think it's going to work against the Elks too. I think it's going to work against the Elks. I think Ottawa now has confidence. Drew Brown's a good player. They got Justin Hardy getting the football. They got this big running back. I think Ottawa is trending upward as we speak, and I think Edmonton is now taking a further step back on the field. I don't know what's going on in the town. I don't know what the hate in the papers are or whatnot for Jones, but I'll say this, Chris Jones, and I looked up his career, and I heard Jim Barker say today he had never been fired before. That's pretty strong when you've never been fired before in a 30-year career. I also would say, when I took over at Cardinal Gibbons, we were kind of a middle-of-the-road team, and one of my mentors, Mike Leach, if you all know who Mike Leach is, most of what you're seeing in the Canadian Football League came from Mike Leach on offense. And when I got the job, I called Mike Leach up because he's a Texas Tech guy. I'm a Texas Tech guy. I said, give me some advice on what I should do as a head coach. And his words, and I'll never forget them: don't stop doing what got you the job. So I'm an offensive guy. I still call the offense. I let the defensive guys do their thing. Special teams guy do their thing. But on offense, that's me. And we're pretty good on offense. Chris Jones is a defensive guy. And I think Chris, being the GM, being the head coach, trying to put a little bit of a stamp on the defense a little bit. He stopped doing what got him the job. And I think that is the biggest mistake that happens when coordinators get head jobs. They just, why did you get hired? Well, I was a great defensive coordinator. Well, you're not going to do what you got you the job. You're going to hand it off to somebody else. So that's my take on Chris. Super talented, super smart, super hard worker. I know him very well. I had a chance to come up and work with him this year, and I'm glad I didn't. But you know, I think Chris will land on his feet when Chris is ready. I mean, he's been in the NFL. I just think he's a talent. I just think he stopped, in some regards, doing what got him the job, and in some regards, I don't think they utilized Trey Ford, and Horace Beatty let him down.
Hey, Coach. Chris Jones is responsible for connecting me and you. So I'm always grateful to him for that, man. So, by the way, speaking of coaching, Henry Burris was on here yesterday. He's coaching at Florida A&M. Do you have your schedule in front of you, Matt? Because September 7th, you and Florida A&M is at the U. And Hank said,
September 7th, I will be probably watching my son play at the University of Alabama. USF plays at the University of Alabama.
I get it.
So I'll probably go to
You
that
wouldn't want to miss. Okay, well, I was hoping we could finally get the wives together and go to a game at Miami. I'll be there no matter what. But it will happen, Coach. It will happen.
Yes, sir.
Bombers at the Riders tonight. Everybody and their dog are picking the Bombers to win. Tyson got the Bombers to win tonight? Your dog and you?
Yeah, no, I don't think the dog is going to win tonight. And again, I love Jeremy. I just can't go against a strong Caleres and the running game kind of getting back on track. And they didn't play great. They're still not playing great defense, but they're playing better. And again, I'll go back to Calgary. I think Calgary is an eyelash away from being way better off than they are right now. And you asked me about, their quarterback, Jake Mayer. He made a couple mistakes the other night, and he had to pay for those mistakes. But how many games do you watch where an interception is not intercepted, where a defensive back drops the ball, the blown coverage, the offense doesn't take advantage of it? It just seems this year in this league, when you make a mistake, somebody's going to make you pay. And I've seen that game in and game out. We talked about returners. Oh, boy, here we go. The Toronto guy that came from Winnipeg, he looks like he's just been shot out of a cannon now, and he's back. You see some of these guys in Ottawa that are turning into, changing the field, flipping the field, making big plays. So once again, I think we are headed in a direction of football that's trending vertically for the viewer. Now, I do have some thoughts on expansion when we want to talk about that, because, and I'll just stop there and I'll let you go on next.
The floor is yours, Coach. Let her roll. You notice I'm just sitting here listening.
So what made the Southeastern Conference so good? It was regional matchup. Yeah, talent, but regional matchups. People could get in their car and they could drive from, Alabama to Auburn, all within a few hours. All Ole Miss, Mississippi State. I think if you wanted to get ambitious, you go into North Dakota, South Dakota, where football is pretty strong. They have a big fan base for those colleges. Maybe somewhere in Minnesota, you mentioned Detroit, but I would keep it out west. Maybe even Montana State has a hell of a football team. You can still get your 20, 25,000 people in a stadium within 100 to 200 miles of the Canadian border. The travel would be easy. People would go to those games. Now you're talking about going in south. You're no shot. Not going to work, especially when college football gets started. But if you go into markets where that's the only game in town, you will be able to put butts in the seats. But you're not going to do it in Shreveport, Louisiana. You're just not going to do it. My opinion.
So, yeah, I don't know. I put it out of my mind because it's such a hot-button topic, and I was getting upset. I think you could see that. Because you got fans saying, why grow? Why grow at all? You know what? It's fine to think that way. I like to grow. They don't. And clearly the CFL does not. Matt, so...
I don't agree. I don't agree with the non-growth. That's life. I mean, that's just the evolution part of life. You start something and you expand upon it. The CFL is solid, but it goes through its ups and downs. How can you combat that? You go into these U.S. markets that have American money, with American travelers that are going to cross the border. Canadians can come across the border. They don't have to get on a plane. They can get in a car. They can tailgate. They can do all those things. But if you're talking about going miles or thousands of miles, it's not going to work. It's not.
Yeah, fair. Well, we all look at it differently. I think you and I look at it the same as opposed to the fans. I look at my friends who work in the leagues and play in the leagues, and their salaries not going up. It's been called by one premier in Canada the Communist Football League because of caps on everything. I don't like that. Call me crazy. But anyways, out of Toronto at Hamilton and BC at Calgary, which of those games is more tantalizing to you?
BC and Calgary. I mean, I think once again, I don't know why I'm a fan of Jake Mayers, because he continues to like make a few mistakes here and there that cost you, but I just see him as a flower that's going to open up and make this run in the league for some period of time. I think he's a talented guy. And I think Dave Dickinson is a super smart coach. So when you get a great quarterback with a great coach that played quarterback, you have a recipe for success, and it's just going to happen. And I hope the Calgary Stampeders fans get behind their team and get buy-in, because they're not far off. And Winnipeg has been good for so long, and Saskatchewan's been good for so long. It's tough, but the guard can change pretty quick.
Well, I'm just wondering when that flower is going to bloom, Coach, because, see you guys, young boys working out here in summer hockey camp, Coach. It's Canada, as you know, your native land. Because the Bombers have figured out their deal. They were 0-4. Now you tell me they're back. When's Calgary going to decide what they are?
Well, I don't think Winnipeg's back. I think Winnipeg has plugged the holes. They have holes. What's the name of the returner that left that went to Toronto?
Janarian Grant.
Yeah, I mean, the first 2 weeks you were watching him in Toronto, and he was kind of and it looks like he's healthy, and it looks like he's caught fire, and wow, what a difference maker he becomes. So, Winnipeg lost him. It's not easy to replace a guy that can flip the field like that. Winnipeg has holes, and you mentioned, a few weeks ago, they're an aging team. Aging teams show themselves, and then they figure out a way to kind of put it together, work smarter, not harder. And I think that's what you're starting to see in Winnipeg. I think Saskatchewan is Trevor Harris. I believe in them 100% when Trevor Harris is in the game. And I thought Shea Pedersen played good last week. I really did. I'm not really down on the guy. I just think, when you go into it, you better have a guy that's done it in our league, because it's a throwing league. I mean, let's face it, it's not ground and pound. The last guy that was ground and pound was Mike Pringle. He was the guy that Montreal ran, they ran the whole offense through Mike Pringle, and you should. But I don't see any backs like that in the league right now. And me as a coach that throws the rock like we do, our running backs become really good based on us spreading the field. And the Canadian League is spread. So, you just need some. But I don't want to go too far into that. I think Saskatchewan could win, but I wouldn't put my money on it. I think Calgary should win. Go.
Yeah. Do you want to hang around for one more segment? We'll talk about all leagues and a little more.
Sure.
Okay. Coach Matt Dubuck. He is the most famous high school football coach in Florida, 3-time 5A state champions. He's CFL alum, coming to a pro team near you, or maybe a big-time U.S. college. We'll see. It's a Football Friday. We're blessed to have him, so we'll come back with more and talk about all the leagues when we return. And also Giulio Carravata, BC Lions great turned radio broadcaster. He'll be with us later on. It is a Football Friday. It's all on the table. We'll be right back here on Game Plus TV, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
The 80s Club, live in Moose Jaw. Honeymoon Suite, along with a flock of seagulls. Men without hats. And spoons. All together for one night at Moose Jaw Event Center, Saturday, November 16th. Tickets on sale now at sasktix.ca or the Moose Jaw Event Center box office.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit. As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Send us your opinions now. We won't victimize you unless you really deserve it. Now, back to your host, Rod Pedersen.
Hey, everybody. We back. Just before we bring on Coach Dubuck, it's a Football Friday. Few things we have launched today. Announced that the second annual Rough Riders versus Blue Bombers Alumni Golf, Saturday, August 31st, the day before the big game. You can follow my social. I'll be hosting it, the event, not golfing in it. Terry in Medicine Hat writes in, we can bring in Coach. Terry says, good morning, RP Show, Labor Day CFL Alumni Golf. That sounds awesome. Is the Sports Doctor a great interview or what? I always enjoy your back and forth. It's been a fun first hour. I'll be listening to the second hour while on the highway while heading to the game. It's game day, baby. Terry from Medicine Hat. Greg in Calgary says, hey, Rod, wasn't there a problem with enforcing the player ratio because of U.S. labor laws? Baltimore won the Grey Cup with all-American players. Yeah, but then they lost the next year to Calgary with the Stamps had half Canadian players. So don't. And Kirk in Toronto says, hi, Rod. Kirk here. Loser thinking is going back to U.S. expansion. I'll say it again. The CFL needs to add one more team in the East for a balanced 10 teams. Matt, you were in the CFL in the expansion era. Were you not? Or did you just miss it?
I just missed Ottawa by, I think, a year or two.
Okay. Cool. Chad in Lethbridge says the CFL should expand, but it won't. Atlantic Canada should have had a team years ago. I love Coach DeBuck's take on expanding to the States. Safe travel to Wild Rose Country, fella. Keep her between the ditches. You're saying expand to northern United States that don't have a football team. Is that right?
Yeah, but I also would say, why not Quebec City? I mean, the great location, great play. Listen, all it takes is, in this world today, there's more billionaires than there's ever been. There's more multimillionaires than there's ever been. You find places that you're expanding cities are growing, populations are rising, and you give them something else that the rest of the world doesn't have, meaning in the central part of the United States, or, why isn't Toronto getting 30,000 a game? Is it because they haven't won consistently? They have. There's just other things that takes the mind off of football. So find places that have fewer opportunities to do things, and then bring it to those people that are hungry for entertainment. And football in the CFL is entertaining. Period.
Yeah. Why are they not drawing? Because competition in the marketplace, blah, blah. It's a different world, whatever. I mean, again, if this is not a slow day, this is like a January, February topic. Wally brought it up. Shame on me for fanning the flames. And because, hey, why did the NHL move up from 6 teams? Why? Why would you? We were doing great with 6 teams. That's the thinking, which is fine. Keep that way. Keep thinking that way. I don't want to talk about it anymore. Now, you know your boy J-Dog. Everybody, Jonathan Lederman, the announcer of the Cardinal Gibbons Chiefs, he wants on this show, Matt, and I feel like I got to bring him on. What would be my first 2 questions for J-Dog? Your team announcer there in Fort Lauderdale. What do you think?
J-Dog does a good job with nicknames, number one. So every one of our players has a cool nickname that he comes up with. I think he's another guy that's in sports for the right reasons. He's not getting rich doing this. He's doing it because he loves it. He's doing it because he has a passion for it. He loves the interaction with the players, the families. So yeah, I think he would be good. I just would have an agenda when you guys talk.
Yeah, and stick to it. Well, there you go. That's why I'm loving calling baseball up here all summer. I didn't plan to get close to the players, but damn it, I got close to the players and their families, and I didn't mean to do that. They've interrupted my bubble, Coach. I tried to stay away. Since you are down there in the South Florida market, here's a question that we threw out to our NFL analysts this week, and I'll ask you. Who will have a better season, and I mean play longer, the Miami Dolphins or the Dallas Cowboys?
Oof, man, two franchises that are storied that simply can't get out of their own way over the last while. And I'm a Dolphins fan, grew up in the Dan Marino era, going to all the games at the Orange Bowl, and then when Joe Robbie Stadium, then it turned into another name and another name. Zach Thomas and I were teammates at Texas Tech, and I said to Zach right before the draft, I go, wouldn't it be cool if you go to the Dolphins? And here you go. He gets drafted by the Dolphins. We were in the same recruiting class. I redshirted. He didn't. He went out his 4th year. I had 1 more year left. But we've remained friends through the years. It was pretty cool to see him do that. Now he's in the Hall of Fame, Ring of Fame at Miami. Tua is just such a wild card. He's looked so well in August, September, October. And then, boy, oh boy, the wheels seem to fall off. And, last year he came back 30 pounds bigger. He was doing jiu-jitsu. He bulked up really big. And now he looks like he's 195 pounds. I mean, he has skin compared to what he was. So I don't know what you're going to get with Tua. He's got great weapons around him. They keep talking about the offensive line being up and down. I think McDaniel's a really smart guy. The new defensive coordinator. Then you got Jerry Jones, and you got that whole crew. Dak Prescott hasn't been able to. He looks good in sequences, and then kind of falls apart near the end. And those games seem like he's always the finger pointer. You're pointing the finger at him. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm going to obviously hope for the Dolphins, but I think the Dolphins are built like jet planes, and I think Dak Prescott's back, or not Dak Prescott. The running back is back that they let go from a few years ago. What's his name? Zeke Elliott. What a great player in college. But I mean, the running back position. The reason why they're not paying him anymore is just because the pound in 3-down or 4-down football that they take to. Everybody runs it the first 2 downs and then they throw it. But if I can go back to Chris Jones for one thing, I've got to know Adam Gase really well, former Dolphins coach, former Jets coach, watch film with him. For anybody to say any of these guys aren't smart or they're bad coaches, listen, we all make mistakes in our job. We all make, those jobs happen to be in the sight line of the population. But Adam Gase is one of the smartest guys I've ever been around, football-wise. Chris Jones, you can't take anything away from him. The only thing I can say is you make a mistake on personnel, it can cost you your job. And I think that's, when Adam Gase had Peyton Manning, he's winning the Super Bowl. You lose Peyton Manning, now you lose a great player, but there's only so many Peyton Mannings to go around.
Coach, you and I both know. No, you're not. Not at all. It's a results-based business, period. And Jones probably took on too much, but he wasn't winning. You know this as well as I do.
Hey, you're
End of
right.
story. Mic drop. Mic drop.
Yeah, but again, it just goes into 1/8 of an inch, 2 inches this way, and the results are different. And I know. Well, that's the coach in me that's saying that.
I know that. And I'm looking at it from the outside. Did you win or did you not win? I don't care why. On all of this. What? Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I agree with you. I just think at times, I think Chris Jones needed more time. I think he needed a little bit more time, and I think he'd still be the coach, and I think they would trend in the right direction. I really do. I believe that. But
I also,
I'm not the owner.
I didn't think he should be fired either. I'm just telling you why he was. Oh, and whatever the hell they are. We should mention this, and you'll be on again. We can talk about it more, but you got Duron Carter on. Listen, I love Duron Carter, and I don't throw that word around lightly. I love him. Just tell the folks, our viewers, because they know him from the CFL, why you brought him on as receivers coach. It's Chris Carter's son, of course, and what you hope he'll bring.
Well, Duron went to St. Thomas Aquinas, which is our crosstown rival. So I coached against Duron, and you heard all the things. When you're a son of a coach, and I heard your show the other day, Keith Gretzky. I didn't even know there was a Keith Gretzky until you said
his brother, but yeah,
whatever. My point with Duron, I got to talk to him. I got to meet him. He was coaching at another school, but it wasn't quite a very good school, when it comes to football. And he saw the players we have, and he thought he could help them. And the more I've been around Duron, I have a lot of respect for that. He is a smart guy. He is a hardworking guy. I don't think Duron will be with me for very long, because I think if he truly uses me, I can help him, move forward if he wants to coach. He's got his dad in his corner. I think Duron Carter just in the last month and a half that I've been with him, I'm extremely impressed. And I called you about him, and you gave me a great recommendation. And I couldn't be happier having him on our coaching staff. And I'm looking forward to the season working with him on a daily basis.
Well, sometimes I wonder if we're ever making a difference. Long before you and I knew each other, Matt, I'd heard all these things about Duran in the CFL. I was in the CFL at the same time. I didn't like him. We signed him. I was like, Jones, what are you doing? And Jones was our coach. And then we got Duran, and I'm like, he was vilified by everybody else. And it ticked me off. How, and Kevin Glenn explained it to me. Kevin goes, Rod, when you know him, you'll love him. That's all it takes. That's right. So there's what everybody else sees, and then there's what there really is. You know, fair?
Well, yeah, that's fair. And I'll tell you this, my son's going to be a senior and work with Duran the last month and a half. And my son's a pretty tough customer when it comes to coaching, because I've always coached him pretty hard, and my hands are off now with the receivers. But my son loves him. And he's not a screamer. He's not a yeller. He's a teacher. And good for Chris Carter, you know, bringing him up that way, and good for Chris or Duran growing up, I guess, because I heard things about him in the CFL and whatnot, but whatever I heard that was negative, I haven't seen it. And I like him.
You won't. And you won't. No, he's the best, Matt. Can't wait to get home and get some time with you guys. But long before that, you'll be on here again talking CFL football with us. Coach, thanks for this, man. Enjoy the games.
Hey, thanks for having me again. Your show's awesome, and I hope more people are tuning in. You have a great perspective on how this thing works. And the CFL is a great league, and I'll keep watching and supporting.
Outstanding. Thanks, Matt. Have a great weekend. Coach Matt Dubuck of the Cardinal Gibbons Chiefs, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Giulio Carravata joins us next from one great to another on a Football Friday live on the Game Plus Television Network, Key Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult, because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit. As long as you're entertained, aren't you entertained?
Hi, my name's Logan Stanko.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with The Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Oh, yeah, he's back. Time for more of the Rod Pedersen Show.
All right, everybody, the RP Show continues, by the way, launching the Rough Riders alumni versus Blue Bombers alumni golf tournament, second annual, Saturday, August 31st, the day before the big game. Launching it today. Go to my social media for more information on it. We're looking for golfers. We're looking for alumni from both teams. That's exciting stuff. Just like this guy, Giulio Carravata, a CFL and BC Lions icon. He's ready for the Wally Bowl Sunday at McMahon. Giulio, what's going on, brother?
How are you, dude? How are you? You good?
Oh, I'm good. I'm
yeah,
always.
You look great.
You know that. I feel great. So do you do. What's going on in your world today?
Oh, not much. I'm just hanging out at the house. I'm going to head to practice here pretty quickly. So get the final tune-up practice before the Lions leave tomorrow morning for Calgary. So, yeah, just looking to see some of the final touches on the roster. But, yeah, no, it's been exciting. It's been an exciting first 6 weeks for the Lions, and it's been a lot of fun being a part of the broadcasts. They've been some good games.
Giulio Carravata won a Grey Cup with the Lions in 1994 as a player. Has been in the broadcast booth probably longer now, right, Giulio? Probably longer than you were a player, but you're still a player.
26 years, my friend.
You got a couple more to reach Carm, then you can be proud of yourself. He did 28.
Right.
Okay. Okay, Giulio. I'm having a really hell of a tough time picking the winners in these games this week of the CFL. That's got to be a good thing.
Yeah, no, it's been, I mean, I think most of us, I think, going into the season would have predicted that there was going to be a lot of parity. There's a lot of good teams, and you see how close the games are each and every week and how they're decided in the last 3 minutes. You know, you're talking about a handful of plays each and every week that are deciding games. And, you know, you look at the Lions case, you know, I mean, they've just been fortunate to be on the right side of those 5 or 6 plays, and some other teams haven't made those plays and are, you know, climbing uphill. And, you know, you look at Winnipeg, you look at Calgary, they're all good teams. You know, Saskatchewan's a very good team. I got a chance to see them up close last week, and, you know, they get after you on defense, and, you know, they're going to struggle a little bit with a young quarterback, but they're going to be a different team with Trevor Harris at quarterback. So, you know, this thing's going to go down to the wire. I'm convinced of it. You know, Winnipeg and Calgary, they're going to battle back. The only thing I have to say really is Edmonton, you know, I mean, they've dug themselves such a hole. And now, too, with the change, I just wonder whether or not it's almost too big at this point of the season to get yourself out of that situation.
We're all watching what VA is doing. Vernon Adams Jr., for those that don't know. Unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
Video game numbers he's putting up. Why has it just clicked finally? And by the way, I thought he was great in Montreal, but I guess the L's didn't, or Danny Machocha. Why has it clicked now on the West Coast?
Well, I think a few things. I think first and foremost, I think, you know, when you play that, everything that goes into being a quarterback, it's everyone always says it's the most difficult position to play in any sport. And because there are so many things that you need to be aware of on the field during a game. But I think with Vernon, I think where he is in his career, I think everything seemed to have slowed down for him in the last couple of years. He had a great year last year, and I think he's continued that. And I think even more so this year, you're seeing a guy who I think the game has just slowed down for him. And one of the things that really jumps out to me, Roddy, is this: when you watch him drop back and throw, if people are around him, his ability to step up into the pocket and still be focused downfield, that's when you know you've reached a certain point. There's no panic in his game. One, he's extremely prepared. I think he's really found a groove on how he best gets ready for a game. Like I'm around him a lot. I'm lucky enough to travel with the team. I see him on the plane right away. As soon as we sit down, he is into his playbook, writing out the game plan. You know, you can see him visualize what he's supposed to do. You watch him during warm-up when he goes out an hour before warm-up starts and he's walking up and down the field, going over his all the little things that you need to be ready for. He feels confident in that he is ready for. There's not much defensively that you're going to do to him that he hasn't seen, right? When you're an experienced quarterback in this league, you're going to see pretty much everything you're going to see, and your ability to adapt to that. And that's one of the things Vernon's been able to do. He's been able to adapt pretty much to everything that they've thrown at him. And, you know, he's also getting a lot of help too with the guys downfield. What do you say about Justin McKinnis and Alexander Hollins and the rest of that offense? They've really clicked, all of them. So it's been a lot of fun to watch.
It's taken Justin McGinnis 5 years to be an overnight success. That's the one thing. And it's an interesting business we're in, Giulio. It's an interesting business because I don't know about you, but you got to have the hot takes, you know. And Jim Barker said here last week that Shea Pedersen is what he is. He'll never be more than a backup, which is whatever. Jim knows football, specifically knows offensive football. But here's you saying it's taken all these years for VA for the game to slow down for him. Damon would tell you the same thing. And he was just on the show this week. Yet we all expect the second they walk on the field, they're going to be the next Dan Marino. It doesn't work that way.
No,
right?
I know. But, well, you know what? I remember Steve Young saying this when he was with the 49ers, that it was almost 5 years as an NFL quarterback that finally the kind of, I don't want to say the light went on, but he felt comfortable, that he felt relaxed, that he felt like he was in control. 5 years. And the problem is, and you just said it, and I've seen, like you, I've seen a lot of young quarterbacks coming through this league. If you get your opportunity, some get 3 games, some get a game, some get lucky enough to have, I think about a Caleb Evans who got like 9 or 10 starts in Ottawa. You get that kind of a run, you better prove you can play. And in the big scheme of things, that's still a small window, right? And you said it earlier with your previous guest about it's a results-based business. You got to win. And in the CFL, there is so much pressure on every team every year. You're not seeing any. When was the last time you heard anybody in the CFL say, hey, by the way, to our fan base, we're going to struggle the next few years because we're rebuilding. We got a young quarterback we believe in. We're going to have some growing pains, but this is what we see as the future. No way. They want to win now. And that in itself is not the kind of environment that's good for a young quarterback, because it puts a lot of pressure on it. There's a lot of nuance to this game. A lot of them are Americans coming up here for the first time, getting used to all the different rule changes and motion and all those kinds of things. It's hard. It's not easy. And so for young quarterbacks, I really do feel for them, because you got to produce right away. And if you don't, it just seems that the teams are just going to move on, and they're going to find out what your faults are, and they're just going to say we're moving on to in a new direction. And it's hard. It's hard to do. And I think Vernon's a perfect example of a guy giving, and Anthony Calvillo is another one. When you finally get that opportunity you have a coach who believes in you, can grow, and you look what happened to him, right? Like there's a lot of examples of that.
Yeah, but let's not forget he started in Vegas, then Hamilton, and was garbage in both stops. Didn't get a home until Montreal. So the owners want to win.
But he got that opportunity, though. He finally got that opportunity. He got a coach who believed in him, and they said, because that's the other problem too we have, Rod. That, like, you got to remember, for all these teams, It's about personnel. And you have to believe in your personnel people. And you have to trust that they know what they're doing in seeing what's in a prospect, because these guys are the ones that are spending 2, 3, 4 years in some cases chasing guys that they believe can have an impact in this league. So you need the combination of those people and your coaching staff to be on the same page and believe in the process. Believe that, hey, this guy might struggle a little bit early, but we believe, in a year or two, he's going to be the guy. And I think BC's have been a great example of that. They've done that with a lot of young guys that have paid off for them.
That's why Wally and Shiv worked so well in Calgary. And He was the first guy Wally hired in BC. Shiv. But I was having lunch at the Capitol Grill in Houston, Texas, with George Cortez, and he said, Rod,
wow,
it takes 2 years. I'd like to have a backup for 2 years before he plays. I said, George, we ain't got 2 years.
Yeah, that's right. That's the problem. That's the problem there. You said it.
Yeah, we got about 90 seconds. The Wally Bowl. That's what I'm calling Sunday's game, BC at Calgary. How do you think it's going to go down?
Well, I think Calgary's in a little bit more desperate spot, right? They know they've got to win. I expect that they're going to come out, fired up at home, and they understand the importance of this game. I expect that this is, again, going to be a very tough physical football game. And I would suspect that Dave Dickinson, as always, is going to have his team ready to go. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm really happy for Wally. I mean, I've got so much respect for him and what he's done for the game. But me personally, like having been around him as long as I was, he taught me so much about the game, not only what I saw on the field, but what was happening off the field and all the things that go into being a great head coach and general manager, and thrilled that he's being honored there in Calgary.
Probably the coolest man this league's ever seen.
He's right up there.
Second to you. Okay, man. Have a great weekend. Keep in touch.
Thanks, buddy. It's the Italians, baby.
I get it. Spaghetti-o. Have a good one. The macaroni pony. The macaroni pony. Giulio Carravata. No, the Italian stallion. We'll be right back with overtime after this on the Game Plus Television Network, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
Is to congratulate the city of Esteban and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at iksgameday.com.
Professional basketball is back in Saskatchewan. The Saskatchewan Rattlers are heating up. Catch them live at SaskTech Center in Saskatoon from May through August. The team is packed with high-caliber talent from the NBA, NCAA, and professional leagues around the world, with a head coach straight from the LA Clippers. Secure your seats now on Ticketmaster, starting at just $20. See you in the Snake Pit.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Hi, my name's Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
You got something to say? You want to add to the show? What are you waiting for? Don't just sit there. Say something. Now, back to the studio with Rod.
Okay, here we go. We got a lot of time here for Overtime, brought to you by our friends at Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary. Hey, Randy and Michelle, I'd love to have you come out and join us in Okotoks at some point on Saturday, if you don't mind. Well, I know you're going to be busy running Overtime Hockey Lanes. Very busy over there, I see, but we're hitting the highway to Okotoks right after this show. WCBL All-Star Game Saturday. Home Run Derby at 5. All-Star Game at 7. Special RP show on our YouTube feed at 6 p.m. Mountain, by the way. Myself and special WCBL guests. Scott in Moose Jaw writes in. He says, love your show, Roddy, because you guys tell it how it is. Love it. It is what it is. I'm hoping if we can leave it like at this, can we just agree to disagree and still be friends? Because that's what is going to be fun and why we're going to survive. Because Tony in Cochrane, Alberta writes in from George Fox Country. He says, the Grey Cup started in 1912 as an amateur football trophy and survived since then. I hate it when the CFL is viewed as an NFL development league. 2 different leagues, 2 different games. Keep it that way. I don't agree. And you go ask Alex Singleton and John Ryan and these types which league they'd rather play in. And as far as a vision, I just don't share the vision for the CFL that the CFL leaders have. And that's fine. I don't share it. Like, just think about this for a second. Let's have a global draft. Let's bring in these worldwide players, but the only ones that can play are kickers and punters. So let's have a punter that'll play for $62,000 in Sask rather than the local guy, John Ryan, who brings 35 friends and family to every game and was the NFL. But no, the European's cheaper, so I can't go along with it. And I look at this, earlier this week we had NASCAR Canada rep on talking about the race Saturday in Saskatoon and then next Saturday in Edmonton. It used to be CASCAR, whatever it is, Canadian Association of Stock Car Auto Racing. And now it's NASCAR Canada, all of a sudden. So I've always been the proponent of this league becoming NFL Canada. It would be a worldwide brand, but I know it gets trounced by everybody. And so when I woke up this morning and saw Wally's comments about how the CFL needs to expand to USA, I got sick to my stomach because I know every time I bring it on, nobody agrees. But you know what? I get bored with things there easily. That's the way I look at things. It's the way I think. So when I say we're going to Okotoks tonight, we're going to be in a suite at the WCBL game. It's going to be sold out at Siemens Stadium, Okotoks versus the Moose Jaw Millers. And we'll be with the reps tonight from SR Bats coming up from Texas. And the people are saying, Rod, they really want to meet you. Well, you know what? I really want to meet them. So I just like new experiences. I like growth. That's why I moved to Florida. And we save Fridays for CFL talk and football talk. We ain't always going to get along on everything, but hopefully we can get along. Joel is watching in Esterhazy. He wants to know how to sign up for the Riders Bombers Alumni Golf Classic. See, that's the thing. I'm always going to do these CFL events for sure. But I'm not going to work in the league. You go to my social media, Joel, in Esterhazy. We'll get you signed up. It's $800 per team. We're going to have a draft the night before. It's going to be big fun. Johnny in Winnipeg writes in. He says, go Bombers, Rod. Yeah. God, we got some great games tonight. Sports update, the Toronto Blue Jays are back home after a lengthy West Coast trip and the MLB All-Star break. Chris Bassett pitches tonight as Toronto begins a 3-game series against the Detroit Tigers. Canada's Olympic men's basketball team hits the floor today against France for a test match ahead of the Paris Games. Canada dropped its first exhibition game 86-72 to the top-ranked Americans last week in Las Vegas. Sports updates for Landmark Cinemas. Mondays are Seniors Day at Landmark Cinemas. Get more of the movies you love every Monday for less. Seniors enjoy 20% off the posted seniors admission price, and to sweeten the deal, receive 20% off their concession, purchase 2. So make Mondays your movie day because a great deal never gets old. Check your favorite Landmark Cinemas for showtimes and pricing. And that reminds me, Twisters debuts tonight. I'm just going to tell you I'm not going to be able to get to Twisters this weekend because we got tonight the WCBL game in Okotoks and the All-Star game. And then Sunday we're racing back here. We got the Regina Red Sox in town against the Moose Jaw Millers. And I'm probably not going to be able to watch a whole lot of CFL football this weekend. I was really hoping they'd play Thursday. But, of course, we can't all agree on that either now, can we? So thanks for tuning in, everybody. It has certainly been entertaining. Also brought to you by EMJ Marketing. Connect with thought leaders and industry experts through EMJ Marketing Speakers Bureau. Contact emjmarketing.com. Thanks to producer Clark, by the way, Clarky, for pulling this all together. The Sports Doctor, Jim Barker, Matt DeBuck, Giulio Carravata. It's been a busy one, hasn't it? Have a safe weekend. Cheer for whichever teams and leagues you love, and we'll do it all again here Monday, noon Eastern.
Who has more fun than us?